What's up, everyone? I'm Merk, and this is Trending Shots, a show where our panelists debate all things CWL. I'm handing out points for strong arguments and hot takes. Today, the original roster returns. Welcome back, Maven and Pac-Man. Ben, good to have you as always. I've missed you guys. How you doing today?
Nice
you all made it.
It's nice to actually have
Clint came to work, so I decided to come back to work too.
I like that. Yeah.
I'm really excited to be here.
Are you sure?
It's going to be fun.
Are you sure?
Yes. Poor Ben has the keto flu.
I do.
What is that,
What
Ben?
the hell is the keto?
It's the exact opposite of what you do with all your carbs.
Yeah, no, I only eat bread.
Yes, I don't eat any bread.
Yeah, I don't feel well either. What's the opposite of a keto flu? A bread flu?
Carb flu.
Carb flu.
Nailed it.
Carb flu sounds delicious.
It does.
Is that even a thing?
No.
The carb flu, yes. all the bread and pasta and rice.
All right, well, you guys ready to talk about CWL?
Yeah.
All right, let's get it going with First Blood. Last week, we saw some less than stellar performances from teams that on paper should have done better. Well, I want to know what team failed to live up to expectations the most. Ben, we're going to start with you. You were our champion last week. Which team did you think underperformed?
You know, going in, I didn't think Splice was going to do amazingly well, but I expected them to do a little bit better than they did. They come in on the weekend, I think it was 1-3. The big story for me, though, is Splice against top echelon of teams. You look at their game against E United. It's not good. For the season, I think it's 0-2. Then you look against 100 Thieves, they've not beat them. Up to Gaming, they've not beat them. For Splice to push over that next edge, it doesn't look like it's possible. And for me now, I'm left in this situation where every time I watch them, I'm thinking, maybe they do need that roster change. And the problem, of course, is you're not going to be able to do it before Anaheim. And, I mean, what's the fix? Joe, if I'm honest, I don't think there is a fix right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're not even, you talk about 100 Thieves, United Optic, they're not even beating those teams, right?
Yeah.
They're struggling with everyone right now. Maven, for you, who is that team that you thought was just going to do a little bit better this week?
Yeah, I think Splice is a good answer, but for me, I think it's Envy. If you look back at CWL London, we were really excited about that roster. Thought it was sort of a dark horse roster, and they end up getting top 4, which is an incredible finish. But coming into this, I'm like, all right, man, they're going to make a run. They're going to show us that they can maybe be a title contender. They go 1-3 this week, and I know they played some of the top teams tough. I think Pat tweeted out there were 4 maps that they kind of threw away against the likes of 100 Thieves and United. I get that, but when you look at the 1-3 record, I think you have to be disappointed, especially when you double down on the fact that they are 0-5 in Search and Destroy. And part of the reason they were able to make the run through that losers bracket was coming up big in some Game 5. So their searches collapsed. It seems to be a thing for some of these aches and silly teams over the last couple of years. Like Bevels is just haunting him. They have these runs where they just can't win a Search and Destroy, and it's hurting them. But yes, they looked okay at times, but 1-3 simply isn't good enough in my eyes.
Yeah, it's not, especially after a top 4 finish. Obviously, they play United, they play 100 Thieves, they lose to those teams, but there was a lot of maps that you just felt like they should have closed out. And it's weird because after a top 4 for Envy, you think the team's clicking, right? We're going to improve. And all of these role changes that are going on, it's sort of affecting that Envy
team. They're
team.
digressing, and I guess that's what hurts my expectations, yeah.
Pac-Man, for you, that one team that you were just hyped to watch this week, and they just shut it down. They didn't play well.
So after London, I thought Heretics was going to go in the right direction. So they came out off London, their best placing ever. They looked so good, even though they lost to Optic and whoever else in the bracket. They come back here and they switch roles and they just give away matches. I don't understand. They regressed. I don't know what happens to Heretics when they go back to Europe, when they go back to Spain and they go to practice, but then they come back here and they decide to switch everything up. They did it before, failed in Fort Worth, then they came back and they got top 8. They went back home, switched again, failed, and they come back and they have to switch roles again. And I'm sitting here wondering, why not just improve on what you built? Why do you go back home and switch things up after practicing against Giants or whoever the hell they're practicing against? Like, just build on what you have. I don't understand what they do.
It's tough because I actually talked to one of the guys yesterday after their match, and I'm like, they're the only team not living in the States, right? They're the only team that's not getting like that practice. I'm like, who are you even scrimming against? He's like, movie star writers.
Right.
Like, they just don't have good practice.
Right. They say they win all those scrims so easily. So, but then why do they switch things up if they're winning the scrims?
Well, I think what it is, right, it's a couple of players uncomfortable, and then they switch in those scrims, and then it works. They're like, okay, we're all good, right? Like, we're all back. So this is what we can do at the Pro League. And then that first match that they played on Tuesday, they got smoked, and everybody's sitting there like, why did you guys do that?
I feel like it doesn't even take multiple maps. After the first map, people are like, what the hell are you guys doing?
And part of my understanding with this, like Methods, like he is, I guess, used to being kind of god of Spain. He's been like the best Spanish player of all time, and he's been taking so much flack because I think a lot of people think his performance is what's holding them back. And I think a lot of these changes are for him, and it's just not working. So it's kind of a tough situation where I think maybe Twitter fingers of some fans are starting to get in people's heads too.
Makes sense. But now I want you guys to focus on that team that you picked, and I want to know what aspect of gameplay must your choice improve going into next week. Maven, we're starting with you. So, Envy, what is one area they have to improve on?
Yeah, I think I kind of talked about this, when I was breaking it down, but it has to be the search and destroy. They go 0-5, and I guess what's so frustrating about it, you have like a guy like Pharaoh, Decimate. Like, you have people that you think can go big in search and destroy. We saw it at times. Like, Decimate had, the 2v4 clutch. Like, there have been some moments, but it's not enough to get them wins in search and destroy. So I think without question, it's that. The search has to be fixed, and then this is a team that's making a run again at like a top 4 position.
Yeah, so we'll see if Envy can do that going into week 2. There's a ton of films to watch. They blow a 1-5 lead against 100 Thieves. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of mistakes I'm sure they can fix on up. Pack, for you, Heretics, there's one area that they have to improve on. What is it for you?
It's just consistent slaying, and their specialist usage too. So with the role swapping and all the specialist swapping, they make so many mistakes with their specialist usage late in games. So like the last time we saw Method Sick mess up his grab slam to win a match. It's just that stuff, but that comes with their inconsistency within their roles. So they just need to come together and work on that, go over BODs and figure out how to shore up their specialist usage and stuff like that, because that's why they're losing close matches. With them, it's more just a confidence issue, I think, and like you said, their vibes are off. I don't know how to fix that for them, but that's what they need to do. They need to work on that.
All right, Ben, for you, Splyce, one area they have to improve on.
Splyce, they lose to United, Elevate, Denial, teams in there that you think they should be beating, and it's weird because you look at their gameplay, there's not really much that you can say, Temp needs to get more damage on the map. Well, absolutely not. The guy has been doing that all season long. It's a mental thing now. I think that team is more than likely already made the decision that this isn't going to be a team moving forward. They're already probably looking at candidates to try and make a roster change. So for me, Joe, the only answer really for them is make the best of this last week, try and get the best possible seed for Anaheim, and then just throw the kitchen sink at Anaheim, say, screw it, we've got nothing to lose here. We'll play relaxed, we'll have fun, right? Remember how it was to play Call of Duty when you were younger.
Said on Hot Mic.
Enjoy.
But it's not that easy just to do that and then to make a change with that level of team. It's just
but at the end of the day, I think all 4 of us expect a change to come from Splyce. You're not beating the top teams now. You weren't beating the top teams before. What's the solution here? You don't have a winning formula, and those players, they want to win, Joe.
Yeah, the scary thing is the roster move period, it's 3 days long.
Yeah.
Like, you do not have a lot of time to work with. And I obviously understand Anaheim, if you don't have the best placing there, it's not the end of the world, but they want to perform now. They got 2nd and 3rd. Like, yeah, I said London, they underperformed, but, I don't know. Those guys, they're champions on that team, and
absolutely.
Just throwing a weekend away, I don't think it's in the...
That's not in the cards for them.
Yeah, it sucks for them. I don't know if they have the mentality to do that.
You say only 3 days, but it's pretty obvious with Temp on Hot Mic that the plotting's already begun. Like, when I
Yeah, of course.
Plotting and actually making the moves.
No, I know,
but
like,
now it's so different.
His response, I was like, you guys are good, right? He just kind of laughed. I was like, all right, well, something's probably happening.
Yeah, well, obviously it's but not up to the players. It's up to the management. But that's going to do it for First Blood. Let's go ahead and take a look at our scores. I believe everybody's tied at 3. I mean, you all had a bunch of different points, but that makes it easy for me because that means we can just go down the line as we start for Quick Show.
For you, Joe.
I don't know about
when you're
that.
as handsome and as intelligent as you are.
Wow.
Everything's easy.
Well,
no. Can you brown nosing for points?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't think I was on camera, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, no. Will was on top of that. Yeah. All right, guys, it's time now for Quick Scope. Let's get right into it. Well, the first question, who is the MVP of the last week of play? There's nobody in 3rd place, so Ben, we'll start with you. Who is your MVP?
Thanks, Joe. I'm going to throw stats completely out the window for this. I don't think it matters. To me, I'm picking a player who I personally watched and saw do phenomenal things. It has to be Octane from 100 Thieves. They have a great week overall, and he was a key component to one of their most important games throughout the week, which for me was against Team Envious. You go back to the first hard point, Arsenal, you see all of a sudden 100 Thieves down, and you're thinking, oh my God, they're going to lose. Who is it that makes the play? It's Octane. Flies through window, breaks a hard point, which Envy have full control of, makes the comeback. 5-1 down. Who is it that makes the comeback? It's Octane. The no-scope, the 1v2 clutch to spiral the 5-1 comeback. He was so important to 100 Thieves this week.
Yeah, I mean, Octane, I think, kept it up. I think the one thing for 100 Thieves is their clutch factor really came out. It did come out, but it's a little bit scary because, to me, obviously it's tough. I think everybody sort of talks about it after you win a championship. It's hard to play at that level at the Pro League. Everybody's gunning for you. Everybody wants to beat you, and maybe you slip up a little bit fundamentally. Maven, for you, who's your MVP?
I am going to go Skies. I was trying to choose between Skies and Brezzy on Elevate because they put themselves in a very good spot. Because you think about the teams above them in this 8-team division with teams like Envy, Heretic, Splyce, they start falling off and for Elevate, they have a huge 3-0 week. Like, that was massive. That puts them in contention for top 4, maybe getting a spot into the playoffs. And Skies has been a beast. I know he's been a monster all year, but he has really started to be special for me. This is a guy that, only thing I'm worried about for Elevate, I think this is a guy that's going to be a big target post Anaheim with likely a change. I mean, he's been sensational.
Yeah, Skies is, I think, starting to bleep on some people's radars, right? It's just one of those guys. When you talk about the very short roster change window, it's going to be tough for the top teams, right? It's going to be tough for those teams, unless it's a trade, a 1-for-1 or 2-for-2, to make plays. You look at the bottom 8, right? I mean, you have a veteran, you can trade him for a young star. Skies is potentially one of those players that maybe we see a team go for. Now, to Pac-Man, who is your MVP?
I'm going to go with 100 Thieves as well, but I'm going to go with Kenny. So, Kenny is a guy, since he made that switch to a Maddox, his comfortability around the map is just absurd. He's winning all his gunfights just like he was last season. He's returned to MVP form. And they were down 5-1 in the search, and he said he was the one that switched up to play calling. He was the guy that took over. He was making plays on the map, 2 pieces all over the place. He's that guy for 100 Thieves right now to me that is leading that search charge for them. So they were not good at search before. Now Kenny is doing what he was doing in the past, and now they are a formidable search team, which makes 100 Thieves incredibly scary.
Yeah, I mean, if they can win just 50-60% of search and destroys, it's going to be so difficult to beat 100 Thieves in a best of 5. It just will be. And yeah, I think Kenny, there was some ridiculous stat last night where they're like 32-5 when he's positive and respawns. Like, it is just unbelievable. And Enable was like, well, just go positive, Ken. Like, I don't know what you're doing. Just make sure you're going positive. So, yeah, Kenny, I mean, just the discussion all year long has been about, well, the negatives of Kenny, and now just starting to turn around after they win that championship. It's awesome to see his story really turn. But on to the next question. I want to know about Denial. Is a 2-2 record the best we can expect from them this past week? Maven, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think you feel pretty good at 2-2 with how their schedule looked. Like, now, could you argue after the fact that they could have gone 3-1? Yes, but if you talked to me before this week, I would have said 2-2 is a sensational week. They had a very hard schedule, and I was very, very impressed with them coming out of this week. I think Brack, week by week, is really looking like a superstar. Like a guy, I put him kind of with Skies, like a guy on maybe a lower tier team that has a chance to maybe be poached by a stronger team. He has been incredible. Rated seems to be in form. I like what I saw out of None. I think 2-2, I feel good about it personally.
Yeah, I think 2-2 solid. I do disagree with you, though, because I think Brack, I don't think he's on the same level as Skies. Brack has been doing this for 6 months now, where we're just seeing it for Skies for 2 months. I don't think it's going to be much tougher for Brack to go elsewhere.
What does the core of that team have to do to like stop having their players
Brack
get
was
poached?
on like Midnight that was
so
good.
every Maddox that's on their team, you're like, that guy's amazing. Let's poach him off our team.
Brack was on like Midnight that was
go.
doing really well. And Skies was on EYU that was, I mean,
They weren't doing well. That's my point.
It's
Skies
tough.
himself was
I'm
not
just
doing
saying
the
it's
same
tough
thing
to
from
shine
Elevate.
when you're on UYU.
Wow.
I mean, fine, but he's
said
doing
the
it
same
now
thing
on
about
Elevate.
Elevate. Yeah, you
Yeah,
said the
he's
same
doing
thing
it
about
now on
Elevate.
Elevate. Pac-Man, for you, is
They went
2-2
3-0
the
though.
best that Denial could be?
I agree with Clint. I think it is. Like post the week, you could say, yeah, they choked S&E against Elevate. They could have won that, sure. But their schedule was super tough, and they did just get top 16. Like, let's not forget, they just got last place, and they had a tough schedule. 2-2 is not that bad. Sure, it's not great, but this team is coming together. It's, like, for me, that's a place where you start from. That's a growing point. 2-2 is not horrible. A lot of teams wish they could have gone 2-2 for sure. They're not Optic. They're not 100 Thieves. 2-2 is pretty damn good, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that's still trying to improve, a newer roster, trying to figure it out. Alex was out of competitive play, pro league play for a good amount of time. It seemed like this week we saw moments for what we were expecting for Alex, so maybe going into that next week, Denial can really start to turn around and turn that heat up. Ben, for you, 2-2 for Denial. Is that pretty solid?
If you'd have told me that, Sunday at London, I would have been like, wow, that's impressive considering their schedule, right? It's what? MV, Splice, 100 Thieves, Elevate. Now, when it gets to the actual week, though, that's where I think it's not okay. You see massive moments of brilliance from the squad. Finally, you get what you want. You have Brack doing wonders. Then I look at that Elevate game, and I think that's probably where they slipped. I think Denial themselves would have said, we should have gone 3-1. And I think they're going to be very, very disappointed they didn't. Obviously, playing against 100 Thieves, that's always going to be tough. I'm never going to give them a win there. 2-2 is fair. But I think after the week, Joe, when you look at it, they probably would have wanted to go 3-1.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, and I don't think we knew Elevate was going to be 3-0, right? I think we probably thought that would have been a close match. But yeah, I mean, Elevate able to take that away, and it's the same old thing with Denial and what seems rated in Joe rosters where it's same old mistakes, right? It always comes out for them post game.
But they also beat Envy 3-2. You could easily, in another world, say Envy should have beat them in that match. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, 2-2, not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all. And now another team that really surprised us. Elevate went 3-0 this week, but next week's schedule is a tough one. Can they make a run for top 4 in the division? Pac, we're going to start with you. Do you think they can do it?
No. No. So they beat. Congrats to them. They won 3-0. Who they beat this week? Denial,
E6.
E6. We were just talking about whatever. They beat those 3 teams this week, but they did not beat the upper echelon teams. They did not. And top 4 in the division, that's just extremely difficult. Congrats on those guys. And Skies may get poached too. So if he does get poached, they have no chance. It's just their schedule's so hard. It's such an uphill battle for them. I just don't think they can do it.
Okay, so Pac, I mean, looking at next week's schedule, what do you think? 1-3 for them, maybe potentially 0-4?
Maybe 2-2 because they're on the upswing, but no better than 2-2 next week, and 2-2 is not going to put them in top 4.
Okay. Ben, to you, for Elevate 3-0, a great week, but moving forward, do you think they have a chance for top 4?
Really impressive week, actually. Very, very impressive. But no, I don't think they do. I think Patman laid out the perfect storyline to why their week is going to get harder. They had an easier first week, and here's the problem. Not only is their week getting tougher, their opponents that are above them, just by a couple of games admittedly, their week gets a little easier too, right? They've played some of the harder games. So that gap is only going to grow. It isn't going to close down unless Elevate come out with a tremendous performance, which, based off the first week, could be possible. But, Joe, if you're a betting man, you just can't say it's likely. For me, I think they fall 5th. I think they fall short.
All right. Maven, you switching up the answer on this one?
Yes, I think it's possible. I absolutely think it's possible. And it really, what it boils down to for me, yes, if there is a team change after this, then that takes it out of the window. I'm just going on the argument that this roster stays the same. But this roster stays the same, they can do it. And what it boils down to me is less about this team and more about the teams above them. Because the 3 teams above them are Heretic, Splice, and Envy. All have looked extremely vulnerable. Splice does not look good. Heretics does not look good. Envy has moments, but they still look incredibly inconsistent. So as those 3 teams have been falling, Elevate has a chance to rise. Yeah, I think they can do it. I believe in Elevate.
Is there a world where you see them beating 100 Thieves or United next week?
They're beating United.
No,
okay.
They're losing 100 Thieves. Elevate is beating United. They're taking both Search and Destroys.
I gave you a couple points for that
United
one.
is
Kill
extremely.
that point.
If you even watch
United.
Todd, United is.
Elevate are going to beat United.
S&D is.
Profeezy's
What are you
going on.
talking
He's
about?
going to be screaming like,
S&D
they're
is
gonna
United's
do it.
best game mode.
It doesn't
They're going to
matter.
win both of them?
Simp's going to sprain his wrist before the match. Profezy's going to come in and dominate. I'm going Elevate.
You're wishing injury upon Simp for your
I
for your
didn't wish
prediction?
it. I just saw the future.
You're wishing injury upon a little kid for your prediction.
You're
Think
a
about
horrible
that.
human being.
What are you
It's a
doing?
skateboarding accident.
He's a little kid, man.
I don't know. Yeah,
Does he
skateboard.
skate?
He doesn't skate, no.
No.
What are you just talking about?
Elevate.
He's a child.
Elevate.
Now, I liked your point because I do think the teams above them are struggling, right? Like, we know Splice is
They
struggling.
have a way easier schedule.
I'm just,
United 100 Thieves?
I get it. But if they go 2-2,
Even if they go 2-2, they have a
automatically
chance.
two
though.
losses.
If they go 2-2, they have a chance though.
But
with
you
crossplay.
realize also
but it all boils
they have
down to
momentum on their side.
Crossplay, though, it's by the end of the week.
It all
Forget
no,
crossplay.
no.
No, he's
I
adding
thought we were saying
crossplay into his
overall.
argument.
I thought we were saying overall.
Yeah, top four.
Because then the
Okay,
Skies
fair.
getting coach conversation
Alright,
doesn't
yeah,
even come in.
fair.
I just that's what it. As much as I think they can do it, it all comes down to whether or not they make
have
that
two
change.
automatic
If they can hold
losses.
on to this roster, I think they can do it.
2 automatic losses next week, and they're not going to be riding.
They're
that
going to
momentum.
beat United, so it's clearly
They've
not
won-
an automatic loss.
in both
man.
in both Search and Destroys.
Yes, they're winning both searches
Well,
against the
well,
best search team.
We'll see if Elevate can continue to elevate their level. It has been a lot of fun to watch, to see a team continue to improve as these guys bring it together. You 3, bring it. Well, not you, Ben. You've been all right. I mean, you two,
Sorry.
the ball duo, bring it together. All right, on.
Let's rub our heads
Look at
together,
Search and
dude.
Destroy.
Get over here.
Wow,
You actually just read that?
that happened.
Yeah, it's like a fist bump, but a head bump.
I love Clint.
All right, well, moving on. We have to talk about it. We've talked about it a lot. We talked about it last week with Luminosity. What Division B team is most in need of a roster change? Maven, we're going to start with you. Who is that team that has to make a change?
All right, I'm going to go Enigma 6. This boils down to something that Clayster said to me a couple years ago that I've had trouble just getting out of my head. He basically said, when you build a new team, at the first event, you know if that team is going to be good and they have a chance of winning. Enigma 6 come out and get top 16. And I know Denial and Elevate also got top 16, but at least this week, we saw Denial improvements. We saw improvements with Elevate. E6 still have not convinced me that they can be a good roster. So I'm going to go with E6. I mean, I know they had some matches where they looked strong. They went to a couple game 5s, but I think E6 is the team that they can't win with this roster.
For you, it's just sort of the same old Enigma 6 formula. Like it always feels like that team has enough talent. And don't forget, before this, they got top 6. They made a roster change after getting top 6.
They got top 16.
And then got top 16, and then they went, what, 1-3, 1-2
I'm curious, how much
this
do you
week?
guys agree with, I'm sorry, I'm like taking over the host role for
fine.
a second, but how much do you guys agree with that, like Clay's sentiment? Like when you build a team, like you know at the first event, even if it's like a week before, if that team's capable of winning?
For the most part, I think that is true. Like, I'm just trying to recency. When Rise picked up Methods last year, they instantly became a good team. They won like the first 2K with him. You just know, you kind of do know.
Yeah,
it
it was like 2 years ago he said it, and I was like, interesting.
It depends how the matches
For the
go.
most part.
Right? You could get like a bad placing, but if you played really well, like, I think that's sort of like what glimpses do you see. But I would think so, because when you make a roster change and you're going into an event or a tournament or even a pro league week, like there's a bit more motivation behind everyone just to prove that this was worth it. All right, Pac-Man, for you, Division B team, who has to make a change?
I mean, it has to be Splice. It does. It just has to be Splice because they're a championship team. When you're a championship team, getting 4th place is not good enough, and they just have to figure out a way to get over that hump. And I think right now that they're tarnished. Like, just between them, their chemistry is off. They just need to change. They need to pick up someone. I don't even know who needs to be dropped. I really think that people would lean towards Accuracy and Aqua that need to be dropped, but did have a pretty good week towards the end of it. It just, they don't trust each other anymore, so something needs to change with that roster.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to Luminosity, right, where it just feels mentally they aren't all locked in. They all have the talent. They've won before. A lot of these guys have won before. Just feels like there's something off.
And for Splice, it's like, sometimes when you're that top team, it's like hard to find someone that's going to improve you. But with what's going on with Gunless and LG, like it feels like there's going to be very good teams on the market, or very good players in the market, where maybe
the real issue with that is the only fair trade for Gunless is Temp.
Yeah.
And there's no way Splice is going to agree to give up Temp.
No, it's not easy, but I'm saying like there are players out there that you can. It's like it looks like
Both of them on the
you
same
can get a very strong player. Yeah.
If you're trading Dashy,
I
who
would.
trade for?
Who wouldn't pay? I would pay pay-per-view money to have Temp and Gunless on the same team. Though.
Me too.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But you just can't let that
I
happen.
just, I would
there's
say
no
though,
origin
my
that's gonna
only
allow that
problem
to
with
happen.
No one
that,
allows
my
that.
only problem with that is Gunless doesn't get along very well with a lot of his
I'm not
teammates.
saying for the gameplay.
if
I'm
Gunless-
saying for them just spearing each other through a wall.
No. If Gunless is on a team with Looney
Yeah.
and Temp, it'll be fine.
Okay.
It would.
You need
but the
Looney
problem
there.
is LG's not gonna. You're letting them form a championship roster.
Yeah. No one's gonna do
I
it.
would
No
really.
way
They
LG
can all live in
I want a
fantasy
Big
world.
Brother episode in the Splice house with cameras and those guys, if that would be a team. Oh,
All right,
geez.
Ben, for you, the team that has to make a roster change.
It'd be too easy, Joe, to go for the bottom ones. I'm going to do something different. Heretics.
I like
now,
it.
here's why. This is a team which, to me, mentally now they're confused. They're starting to crumble. They have so much potential. Their best placement at London, great. Do you build upon it? No, you don't. I think Clint did a really good job of touching on when he spoke to the Heretics players, saying, well, now it seems like Twitter is having an effect. At that point, if you're a professional team, you know something is broken and something has to change. I think it's about time where you say, Methods, you've had so much time. You've had so much time. It isn't working. Yes, the counter argument is who do you pick up? It's tough. Of course, I understand that.
Well, they would have
that's
to
exactly
name-
that's
name-
exactly what
name-
Pac-Man
name
wanted to
one
say.
other Spanish
Well,
player.
it's not on
But
us.
here's
It's
the
not on
thing.
us to
Here's
name
the thing.
those players,
You need
right?
someone who can just consistently do a little bit better. That's all you need, and that Heretics team will improve.
I
And
say
think
they
it
get
could push them
Gotaga.
over.
What? What?
That's not even in the
Realm.
He's French.
Still, that's my call.
That should work.
I'm glad you don't run a
They should
team.
pick Haggy.
But here's the thing. I think when you look at Heretics, it's the same old like roles situation where it is
same
just
story.
it hindered so many teams this year. 100 Thieves early on, they had to make a roster change for the roles. It just feels like these role situations on Heretics.
It's clear.
It's a nightmare for them,
Yeah.
and they can't figure it out. And the only way to figure it out is probably a new player. Now we don't know the Spanish young talents or who they can take a chance on. But I'm sure they do.
There has to be someone.
There has to be one.
player.
And I think it's maybe you pick up an ICR or you pick up a SOG because that's obviously where the issue lies right now for Heretics. But will they do it? It just felt like, again, and at Anaheim, they've shown improvements every single open event. Are they going to do it again? And based off what we saw this last week, I just don't know if we will. All right, guys, that's going to do a wrap on our quick scope. Let's go ahead and take a look at the standings.
Oh!
That's going to put Benson and Maven in the top spot. So, unfortunately, Pac-Man, you will be dismissed. Any last words for us?
Do your
Love you, Joe.
Bold-headed rub.
One more time? One more time?
Yeah.
All right.
That was a great time.
I had a good time.
Yeah, I did
was
too.
fun.
Sometimes you lose.
I'm going to miss you.
Sometimes you lose.
All
I
right,
lost
it's
a lot.
time now for the grand finals between Benson and Maven. And it is down to 2. Maven versus Benson. The winner will enter the Smack Talk Winner Circle presented by Astro Gaming. It's now time for the grand finals question. What individual player can best turn their team's performance around? Maven, you're in the lead by 1. We'll start with you.
I think this is an easy one because it's coming from his own mouth when he hopped on the analysis desk, but I'm going to go with Looney. Looney, to his credit, has been better than I think we've seen him in years from a slaying standpoint. Like, he's usually the guy that sometimes comes across as a scapegoat, the team leader, the entry guy, not always putting up the biggest numbers. But this year, he's been kind of Mr. Do-It-All. He's been right up there with Temp as like the top player on that Splyce team. This week was not solid for him, and I think that reflects their results. The Splyce did not look good this week. So I think if Looney can turn it around, it's not just him, but if he specifically can get it going, especially since he's that in-game leader type of guy, if he gets rolling, I think Splyce can pick it up next week. But Looney's the biggest target for me, and that's just an easy answer because he literally said the same thing on the desk.
All right, so you're going with Looney. Ben, for you.
You know, but before I get to my actual answer here, Clint, Looney last week, played average. He said it himself. He needs to step up. You agree with me though when we say Splyce is broken, right? It's a broken team. They're making a team change, correct?
Yeah, I think they're going to make
So
it. Yes.
let's say Looney improves just a little bit. What's their record next week?
What's their record next week?
They play 100 Thieves. They play E United. And they play Heretics.
Well, I mean,
if they're going 1-3, if they're going 1-3 with an easier week,
I don't even
think they're going to improve. If Looney steps up a little bit.
I don't even think that matters in the scope. But the question is just what player needs to improve. But I think Looney had an off week and needs to improve. And this is more, even if the team breaks up, Splyce, though, as the organization, is still battling for a top 4 spot to get in the playoffs. So I'm not even thinking about the record so much, just within the question, like who needs to step it up and needs to play better. I think it's Looney.
I think
absolutely
Looney. Even if Looney plays better, it doesn't mean
anything. You could be right. Looney could step it up and they can still struggle. But like they cannot win without him playing better.
I mean,
he has to play better. Because Temp, I mean, we know how consistent he can be, but Looney's got to be right there with him. That's been one of the key ingredients for them all year long. So I just it's so important right now because it's just look at that top 4 spot. Like with you have Splyce, Heretics, Envy, Elevate now making a run at 3-0. Like it's really congested in and around that bubble. So,
but that's the problem. They play those teams, and I don't think even if Looney plays better, that Splyce team is completely.
If Looney plays better, I mean that's Splyce team. I think Looney playing better. I think Looney playing better helps other players play better though, just because the type of player is the type of leader he is. Like if he improves, other players improve. So that's like the first domino for me with the Splyce team. If Looney gets there, if he's clicking, I think it helps everybody personally.
So in terms of my actual answer, I actually want to.
Yeah, do you have an answer?
Yeah, I do actually. I want to look at Team Envious and I want to target Hook. Now, bear in mind, this is a strange answer, right? Because Hook is a superstar. But here's the thing. You look at their week, they go 1-3. Now, when you compare schedules from Envy and Splyce, Envy has a way easier week 2 schedule. And there's a couple of moments where you want your superstar to come out and play like a superstar. For example, the hard point against 100 Thieves. Who's the guy that you want to come out and just win you the game? It's your superstar. That's the player you look at. And very similar to Looney, you talk about players playing better when someone's in top echelon form. There's certain players on Team Envy that could be maybe more consistent. Not necessarily, superstar players, but more consistent. I think Hook would help bring that if he can elevate his game just to that next level. He's been great. Of course he's been great. There's no argument there. But he can be phenomenal. We've seen it all. Everyone's seen it. I doubted him for so long, and I put my hands up and said I was wrong. This guy is such an MVP. It's insane. Hook is such a big talent, and Envy need him now more than ever.
You watched Envy play this week.
I did.
And your takeaway was Hook needs to play better?
Yep. For all the reasons I just said.
Didn't come to mind? Like, if I had 2 players that I thought he'd turn around, it's Akes, Looney. Those are the 2 that instantly jump into my mind.
Here's the thing.
Your answer is Hook?
Yes, because if Hook gets better, all of Envy get better. And
how? You can't.
Here's the thing, Clint. You go back to that 100 Thieves hard point, and I'm going to keep using an example because it's so important, right? Envy controlled map 1 80% of the time. It was outside of P3 on Arsenal, which 100 Thieves just seemed like demigods on. In that exact moment, when you're trying to break P1, it's so difficult to do. One of the hardest in that moment. You need that play. Pat is never going to be that guy. Akes is never going to be that guy that's going to hop through window, pop a 2-piece, and win Envy again. It's just not going to happen. No disrespect to Pat. He used to be in the past, not now. Hook is that guy.
And
Hook is the guy that can fly through
He's
window.
been arguably the most consistent superstar this year.
That's my point. Not this week. You didn't get
He was still good this week. He's been good every week.
That's the point, Clint. He was good this week. It wasn't superstar this week, which if Envy
he
wanted
was
to
still a superstar.
Top,
he still had maps. He completely took over.
Right, but in those key moments,
Luke is always good.
Always good, not always superstar. That's what I'm saying. If you get that superstar,
this is the worst damn argument I've ever heard.
I think this makes perfect sense. This makes absolute sense.
If you're hammered,
if Envy are going to go really, really well through next week, I think Hook has to play at superstar level. And I think everyone else, your Pharaohs, your Decimates, everyone plays better more consistently. Hell, even Pat probably does. My point is, in those clutch moments, that's when you need superstar.
Joe, I'm ready for the championship circle in my 60 seconds whenever you are.
There's no way you win this.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think if Hook plays at superstar level, Envy has a much easier week next week.
But ready when you are, Joe.
I guess it's so difficult to
Say he needs to
I don't
improve.
think
Of course.
he needs to be the one to improve for Envy.
No, because he doesn't.
If he plays
Hold on, let me
superstar
speak.
level,
Let me speak.
everyone plays.
Okay,
it's a weird take on the argument.
I get it. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. You're saying he played good.
Yes.
If he plays better,
Yes.
they're 3-1 or 4-0 this week.
Yep.
Okay.
Easily.
You can say that for every.
Hold on. I guess my only rebuttal to you is this. Who did they play this week?
This week they played, I have it written down, Heretics, Denial, 100 Thieves, United.
Okay. Who do they play next week?
Next week is Splice, E6, Elevate. It's a way easier week, and if Hook just plays at a consistent level or goes even better, it's 3-0, Joe. It's 3-0. Envy there.
I
they're
get that, but those 3 teams that you listed, you're not asking for a superstar. You're asking for a consistent game because if they play,
Ace was the correct answer for that team.
If they play at a normal level, they should beat all 3 of those teams comfortably. I think, to your point, you want Hook to be superstar against the last teams he played last week, right?
The first week.
The previous teams, because that's when you're saying Hook, time to take over. And there was times where he did take over.
Absolutely.
But I think when you look at Envy, they had issues with roles around 2 guys, Ace and Pharaoh. And I think respawn-wise, I think Pharaoh had a couple of good search and destroys. I think those 2 had to be the 2 for Envy. Had to be the 2 for Envy.
I still have time to get a point.
I think Maven took the easy route with
Yeah,
Splice
because you
and
had the
Looney.
guy on the analyst desk who literally said, I need to play better. I didn't play. Well, no.
But I will say, I like your idea. I don't think it was the time. I think if they go 2-1 and they have E United and 100 Thieves coming up next week,
Sure.
You're saying, Hook, you got to play better because of our schedule.
I hate you.
And well,
I don't really. I love you.
I love
let me
you
go
too.
ahead and take a look at our scores. I believe that's going to put Maven as the winner by 1 point. Maven, you're going to the Smack Talk Winner Circle presented by Astro Gaming as the champ for the week. Your prize is 60 uninterrupted seconds. Say whatever you want, do whatever you want. The golden headset's already on your head. Your time starts now.
I'm going to go with the thing that I hate the most, and that is myself.
What?
Maven, you've been bad lately. You know, from a dietary and nutrition standpoint, you've been horrific. You haven't been sleeping much. You eat Chipotle, BB-Bop, or Five Guys every single day. You've been to the gym 3 times in about a month. I can feel the rolls in my stomach on them right now. If I went out for a run, I would probably collapse and die. Take better care of yourself. You really need to. You're an on-camera personality. If there wasn't makeup here, I'd look like a hideous beast. So Maven, take better care of yourself for everyone and yourself so you can live a long and happy life for Kat and your 2 dogs, Todd and Copper. They love you.
And me, I love you too. I'm
Love
your
you too,
casting
Joe.
duo.
Stop eating cheeseburgers every day.
I bet you after this he's going to eat a cheeseburger.
100%.
I'm getting Five Guys, yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and, I hope you take much better care of yourself. I always try to encourage you to do so. But let's go ahead and take a look at our show standings, and we can see who's in the lead. Well, Maven, you're at 50%, but it's a 50%, but you don't
You're
hardly
never
show up.
at work.
I had an episode that the audio wasn't recorded that I won.
That doesn't matter because, honestly, you don't show up. You hate Trading Shots fans for whatever reason.
You keep telling us in the green room that you just hate everyone
it's
on
tough
YouTube,
to
and
see.
It's weird.
I just like going home to visit Copper. I do love my dog more than all of you.
At least you're honest.
Kat, that's to you as well. Yes,
Oh,
sorry
I love
about
you too,
that.
Kat.
Yeah, all right, well, I saved that one for him. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Thank you for watching. Enjoy this week's matches.